Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 3rd of September. Today we have some updates, so let's start. First we're going to discuss the Kherson area, this one, and we're going to discuss the continuous offensive operation of Ukrainians on this bridgehead. As you know, there is a bridgehead that Ukrainians managed to establish and to develop and to increase, and this bridgehead is between towns Andreevka, Lozovo, Sukhoy Stavok and Bezymenne, these towns, this area. If we take a look at the Russian sources map, this map shows a little bit different picture, and the main difference is that according to the Western sources map, the Ukrainians managed to take the southwest part of Davidbrody, this town. But if we take a look at the Russian sources map, this area is under total Russian control. There were three bridges in this area, three pontoon bridges. There is river Ingulets, this one Ingulets river. In the past there used to be a lot of local bridges, but all those bridges were destroyed during the special operation, and during the previous months the Ukrainians managed to establish three pontoon bridges, and using these three pontoon bridges, the Ukrainians were developing their offensive operation in this area. Using those three pontoon bridges, they support this area with ammunition, with ammo, with shells, with tanks, with infantry, and so on. During the previous hours, the Russians managed to destroy all these pontoon bridges. And after that, the Ukrainian army, the Ukrainian brigade groups that were located on this side of this river Ingulets were cut off from the mainland, and they got into artillery back, and the Russians started shelling and reducing this area heavily. Furthermore, during the previous hours, the Russians managed to establish control over small town Ternovka, this one. This town, they crossed the river by themselves, and they established control over this town. As you can see, there was a road the Ukrainians used to use in the past. And during the counteroffensive operation, while the Ukrainians were crossing the river, while those pontoon bridges were exist, the Russians attacked in the flank, in the back. They crossed the river by themselves, and after that, the Ukrainians appeared in a small encirclement. Furthermore, some Russian sources are saying that Ukrainians got into cauldron in this area. We can say that it's a cauldron because, or at least tactical encirclement, because the Ukrainians didn't have any way how to go back, how to cross the river, because all pontoon bridges were destroyed. At least they couldn't do this using the armored vehicles and so on. Just on their foot, they are able to cross this river. The bad thing is that the Russians managed to cross this river and to establish their own pontoon bridge and got this town Ternovka. That's why the Ukrainians moved a lot of reinforcements in direction of Berezhnegovata, this town. This is the main base, the main headquarters are there, the main fuel depots, the main ammo depot, the main logistics center. As you can see, there is a big road that Ukrainians used for one purpose, to accumulate forces, as was some kind of logistic hub, and after that they were sending their forces on this side of the river. But the bridges there were destroyed, so that's why, and these guys on this bridgehead appeared in a small cauldron. I don't know the number of forces in this area, but I suppose that the number is very big, because the Ukrainians were controlling Andreevka, Lozovo, some part of Bilogorku, Sukhoy Stavok, and furthermore they managed to develop their bridgehead in direction of the south, in direction of small town Bezymenne that Russians destroy using the FAB 500 and their aircrafts. So this was the situation. So the Ukrainians decided maybe they stopped this offensive operation, but they couldn't do this because these guys were cut off from the mainland. So that's why the Ukrainians started their offensive operation in direction of Ternovka. The other reason why the Ukrainians started this offensive operation is that these three bridges were destroyed, and there is only one bridge, pontoon bridge, that between Blagodatovka and Ternovka. There is only one bridge, and this bridge is under Russian control because the Russians established this pontoon bridge just to take this town. So the Ukrainians understand that they are no longer able to build more pontoon bridges on this river because the Russians would immediately destroy them. So that's why they decided to attack Ternovka, because there is a Russian pontoon bridge. And somewhere on the 2nd of September, they managed to take this town, and to capture Russian bridge. Furthermore, they managed to cross the river and attack Blagodatovka from the north. And now there are still very heavy clashes in the area of Blagodatovka. The Ukrainians again got into this artillery back. They are trying to storm, to crack this area with one purpose, to establish connection with this bridgehead and to allow the Ukrainians, the wounded soldiers and so on, to leave this area and to move more reinforcement using this bridge. So there are very heavy clashes there, and the Russians still hold their position in Blagodatovka. From the other side, the Russian artillery, Russian aircraft are reducing this area, trying to shell this area with artillery, with rocket, with everything they have, and the losses among Ukrainians are very high in this area. Furthermore, the Ukrainians during this day, during these hours, were trying to attack Alexandrovka, this small town. According to the Russian sources and according to the confirmed information, Alexandrovka is under Russian control. There were a lot of videos and updates from this area. So the Ukrainians were trying to storm this area but all their attempts were failed, and they were defeated, and that's why they were forced to move back to the north and try to establish their position in the north, maybe to do some regrouping and so on. If we are talking about the north area, as you can see, there are still heavy clashes around Vysokopolye, Olgina, around Arkhangelsk. The situation is critical, but the Russians are saying that the situation is critical, but the situation is stable. And now there are very heavy clashes in Olgina and Vysokopolye. The Russians are storming this area back, trying to return the entire control over this town. And I suppose that they're going to do this anyway, because they still have supply connection, they still have some reinforcement, they have artillery and aircraft support. If we're talking about the Ukrainians, they start using HIMARS very massively and effectively, not just the HIMARS, also their Tochka-U rockets. As you can see, they shelled Kherson area, they shelled some warehouses in this area, they were trying to attack the bridges and so on, but the Russians, as you can see, there are like 3 markers. The Russians are saying that they managed to destroy the rockets, at least like a lot of them. I'm not sure about the number, but anyway, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and the Russians like showing that they are very effective with these Ukrainian rockets, or the Western rockets as well. Another important update are coming from the small town Energodar, from our Zaporizhzhia power plant. If you remember, on the 1st of September, the Ukrainians were trying to storm this town using their boats and so on, but their attempt failed. They were defeated. Some forces managed to ground on this area, to start some ground battle in this town, but they were spotted and defeated. Also, if you remember, there was few boats that were destroyed on the river, and the Russians are saying that yesterday, somewhere at 11 p.m. of local time, the Ukrainians did another attempt of storming this town. There was something around, as far as I understand, of 42 boats. The Ukrainians tried to cross this river with 42 very fast boats, and the Russians spotted these boats, and they sent their aircrafts, their 4 Su-30 aircrafts and 2 Ka-52 helicopters, and these air forces start destroying these boats on the river. So that's why the Ukrainians were forced to turn and go back. After that, the Russians reported to their artillery their destination of these boats, and after that the Russian artillery started shelling the coast, the bank of this river, trying to reduce the Ukrainians while evacuating from these boats on the bank. So as a result of this another attempt of Ukrainians, they lost something around 70 soldiers, and that consists 47 were killed, and 10 of them were like foreigners, and 23 soldiers were wounded during this another failure attempt of storming this town. Furthermore, today we got the final confirmation, the final update that this nuclear power plant, stopped supplying Ukraine with electricity. Today was the final day, or the first day of not supplying the Ukraine with electricity. And this is a very big problem for the Ukrainians, because that was the biggest power plant, and Ukrainians were counting on this power plant, on this electricity, because of course we know that We are right in front of winter, autumn, cold period, and the Ukrainians were planning to sell this electricity, and furthermore they were planning to use this electricity for their own purposes, but from now on they are not able to do this. But they still have 3 more power plants on the territory of Ukraine. I suppose that anyway they're going to use them as well. Also, the Russians are saying that in their report of Ministry of Defense, they're saying that as a result of clashes on the 2nd, 3rd of September, on the 2nd of September, I must say, the Ukrainians lost another 230 soldiers. It's like killed one, and up to 73 vehicles they lost during that day of offensive operation in the south of Ukraine. That's a lot, I must say, and they're losing and losing more, and furthermore, because of that fact that these soldiers are cut off from the mainland, the Ukrainians understand that they need to deblocate them. It's some kind of a trap for now I see, and the Ukrainians don't have any they don't have any other way what to do with them, because if they leave them, it will be a very big shock for the Ukrainians, and I don't think that they will be able to force the Ukrainians to do any offensive operation on any other front line. So that's why they need to deblocate, and for these purposes they need to send more and more forces, which will be destroyed by the Russian artillery and so on. Now let's talk about other front lines and about the Russian report of Ministry of Defense. We are going to talk about the Seversk, Artyomovsk, about the Donbass operation. The Russians are saying that they attacked the 93rd brigade, mechanized brigade, in the town by the name of Konstantinovka, and as a result of this attack, the 93rd brigade lost up to 120 soldiers and 11 armored vehicles, and the same destiny was with the 95th air assault brigade, as far as I remember. This air assault brigade, yes, that located in the town Slavyansk, and as a result of Russian attack, this brigade lost up to 100 soldiers and 14 armored vehicles. Another important update are coming from the same Konstantinovka. From this town, the Russians are saying that they destroyed the HIMARS depot, and they destroyed like maybe a few HIMARS, I don't know, and as a result of that attack, this group or campaign lost up to 30 soldiers and the HIMARS systems in this area. Furthermore, we got more and more updates that the Russians started or activated on the Seversk Bakhmut front line. They had a week of rest while the Ukrainians were trying to attack in the south. We can say that everybody in the world changed their focus from Donbass operation to the Kherson counteroffensive operation, and we saw that there were no updates from this area, so these forces had 1 week of some kind of rest, maybe reinforcements, fulfilling, and this morning we got a lot of update that the Russians are storming Seversk all along the front line. They're attacking this area all along the front line with artillery, with helicopters, with infantry and so on, trying to crack this net and trying to get this town under Russian control. I'm not sure that it's a very easy job, because there are a lot of Ukrainians still there. They have a very powerful fortification, but anyway, the Russians activated, and maybe during the next week we are going to see a lot of updates from this area, and maybe the Russians will be able at least to establish control over Verkhnye-Kamyanskaya. Maybe the Russians will be able to establish final control over Ivano-Daryevka, Vyemka, and maybe the Russians will be able finally to get Yakovlevka and Veselaya and to crack the Charlie group. So this may be the goals for the Russians for the next week, so we'll see. If we are talking about Donetsk, there is no update from this area, just the regular artillery duels. The Ukrainians are shelling town. A lot of civilians are suffering from these artillery strikes. The Russians stopped near Piesky as soon as they established control over this industrial zone, over these 2 bridges. Now they're also doing some kind of regrouping, preparing for the next week of very heavy clashes, a very heavy battle, because we understand that the Russians are planning to develop their bridgehead in this area, and they will try to establish final control over Nivolskaya. They will try to get into suburbs of Pervomaiskaya, and they will try to attack Vodyana. These three towns is in a very big danger from the Ukrainian side. I suppose that the Ukrainians need to bring more forces there to reinforce this area, to be on the safe side, but if the Ukrainians have such possibilities. If we are talking about Marinka, there is no updates. There is no updates from Novomikhailivka, Marinka, so the south area is silent, just regular artillery duels. The Ukrainians are saying that the Russians decided to move their Third Army Corps in this area. If you remember, we discussed that these corps were spotted near Rostov-na-Donu, and we discussed that there are two ways how the Russians can use this third military corps, or in direction of Donetsk or in direction of Kherson. But as you can see, the Russians managed to stop the Ukrainian counteroffensive operation without this third corps. I suppose that the Russians were planning to move this corps in case of big counteroffensive operation from the Ukrainian side, and if this region do really need some reinforcement. But as we can see, the Russians managed to stop the Ukrainian counteroffensive operation using the forces they had in this area. So that's why the Ukrainians are saying that maybe the Russians will move this third corps in this area, and the area between Melitopol and Volnovakha in this area, and maybe the Russians will try to develop their offensive operation with the third military corps in direction of Orekhov, Gulyai-Polye, and Velika Novoselovka, in direction of these three towns, and they will try to attack this area. There are not much forces from the Ukrainian side, there are not much forces from the Russian side, so that's why I suppose if the Russians sent their third corps here, the Ukrainians just don't have reinforcement, trained reinforcement, just to be on the safe side on this area. And as you know, this third military corps is equipped and fulfilled with the modern tanks, modern artillery systems, modern armored vehicles, so I don't think that it will be a very big problem for them to crack this nut, to crack this Gulyai-Polye front line, and to move in direction of Zaporizhzhia with one purpose, just to cut the Donbass arc operation from the supply that goes from Zaporizhzhia. There is not much towns that the Russians need to take in this area. They just need to take Orekhov, Gulyai-Polye, Velika Novoselovka. This is the three main Ukrainian fortification in this area. If the Russians are able to take these three fortifications, we can say that entire Zaporizhzhia front line collapsed, because the closest town where the Ukrainians are able to establish some fortification is Zaporizhzhia itself, and Pokrovska on the north, and Novomikhailivka. These towns, as you can see, all this area between Pokrovska, Novomikhailivka, Orekhov, Gulyai-Polye, there is no big towns, and it won't take it's not very difficult to attack these and to take control over this town by the Russians. So maybe the Russians will do this operation with this third military corps. If we are talking about Kharkiv area, there is no updates. The front line is stable. The Russians, there are just artillery duels. The Russians are attacking, storming some towns in this area, doing some recon combat, trying to understand where is the weakest point in the Ukrainians' defense. But no active fighting things, no active attacks and so on. So I suppose that they're also doing some regrouping in this area as well. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds you that we condemn any violence in Ukraine. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good weekend. Thank you. Bye bye.